In this video, we're going to talk a little Bob Chapek. There was a great new article that dropped a few days ago from the Financial Times that really gives us a little more insight into who Bob Chapek is. I'm going to dive into some of the key points from that article up next. Hey everybody, welcome aboard to another episode of Orange Grove 55. I am so thankful for all of you today to join me while we discuss a little Bob Chapek. So there was a fantastic article done by the Financial Times, link down below. I highly suggest everyone check out that article and read the entire thing for yourself. I'm not going to break down the entire article. It's pretty lengthy. I just took out some key points and I'm going to discuss those key points. But after the video, please, by all means, check out the article and read it for yourself. There's a lot of juicy tidbits in there. We learn a lot about who Bob Chapek is. It's pretty fascinating stuff. So, you know what? Without further ado, though, let's dive right in. Okay, so this was a section. This was a paragraph in the article that I found to be of interest. It says here, quote, "It was Bob Iger's choice to pick Bob Chapek. He is the hand-picked successor," says Alan Horn, the producer and outgoing studio head. Quote, "Bob Iger has been working with him for decades, and I think he chose wisely. I think the most important criterion in selection of a leader of the Walt Disney Company is character, and I think this guy is of good character." Horn then adds, "He's not Bob Iger. Bob Iger is an extremely tough act to follow." Now, the reason why I think this is of interest is because the narrative lately is that Bob Iger has nothing to do with Bob Chapek becoming the CEO. Now, initially it did. If you guys remember, back in February of 2020, the narrative was completely different. The narrative about Iger and Chapek was Iger was throwing Bob Chapek under the bus. He wanted to get out before the pandy, right? But then, the facts kind of got in the way with that theory, because then Bob Iger reasserted himself more hands-on to help Bob Chapek through the pandy. I think it was that April or that May. So that narrative didn't work anymore. It just didn't work, right? So a new narrative had to be created. And the new narrative since then is that, well, the board wanted Bob Chapek, but Bob Iger was just, he was just outvoted. Never mind the fact that year after year after year, the board all but worshipped Bob Iger. He walked on water. They celebrated when he extended his contract over and over and over again. But out of the fucking blue, right? The board just decided to have a corporate mutiny and go completely against Bob Iger's wishes and voted against him and voted for Chapek to be the new CEO. Total baloney, okay? And this completely dispels that whole theory that Bob Iger had nothing to do with this. It was all the board. It was Bob Iger's. Not only does Bob Iger like Bob Chapek, not only did Bob Iger support Bob Chapek, Bob Iger hand-picked Bob Chapek. So it was just like I said in many, many videos in the past, right? Many, many videos in the past. Bob Iger picked him, and the board rubber stamped it, period. End of story. So I thought that was very, very interesting. Alan Horn confirms it, that Bob Iger hand-picked Bob Chapek, despite all the experts on Twitter and online and everything else on social media. It was Bob Iger's call, 100%. Okay. So now in this piece right here, in this section, this is very interesting. Very, very interesting. Okay. It says here, the notion that he is merely a bean counter irks Chapek. Okay. It says, quote, "I've seen creativity in this company through every lens possible," he says in an exclusive interview. He compares running the theme parks with observing, quote, a focus group every day that gave him a unique perspective on what makes the Walt Disney Company so different from any other media company. He adds, it ties us to our ultimate constituent, which is the consumer. Now, this is interesting. So Bob Chapek is pushing back on the narrative that he's a bean counter. He's just a financial guy. He's pushing back on that, and it actually irks him to have that reputation. Now, this is a good thing. This is absolutely a good thing that he's not embracing the bean counter label and he's rejecting it. Okay. I think that's positive. I know a lot of fans are going to poo-poo it, but I think it's a great thing. I think that shows that deep down he wants to be that. He wants to be known to be more creative. He wants to be more, maybe not creative, but just creative friendly, right? So to speak. He doesn't want to just be the finance guy. So that's positive, right? That he's acknowledging that he doesn't want to be that guy. I think that's a very positive thing. And I think that's encouraging quite a bit. It goes on here to say, now this is very, very important, you guys. An American CEO saying that the customer is always right does not sound controversial, but this consumer focus is at the heart of what worries some actors, directors, and agents in Hollywood. Consumers love streaming movies at home, and Chapek wants to double the number of Disney Plus subscribers in the next 2 years. But streaming, pay attention, guys, pay attention here. This is very important. But streaming is not good for the box office. And for decades, success at the box office has been a source of prestige in Hollywood and allowed top talent to make millions through so-called back end, a bonus for hitting ticket sale targets. This is what all the hit pieces you saw when Disney was doing the day and date stuff was all about this. It's about the money, the money, the money. All the hyperbole you read on like all the trades about how Deadline is so concerned about the future of Disney and Chapek is so bad for Disney and yada, yada. No, it's all hogwash. It's window dressing. These people don't care about Disney. They don't care about the future of Disney. What they care about is protecting the money for these Hollywood elites. That's all it's about. It was all about the money. The day and date and the streaming cuts into the money, and that's the problem. That's the rub. That's why so many of these publications and these Hollywood figures were coming out against Chapek because he was messing with their money. That's it. That's it. Now, it ties into the next paragraph, okay, that I'm going to read you. This is very important to what I'm going to read you next. All right. So it says here, Chapek last year launched a sweeping reorganization of Disney's entertainment business, putting streaming at the center. He formed a new group to determine how best to distribute its television programs and feature films, effectively stripping the studio chiefs of authority to decide whether their work should debut on a streaming service or a quote-unquote legacy platform, such as TV or theaters. Quote, if I left it to the individual creative groups in the company, everything would be going to the legacy platforms, unquote, Chapek says. Quote, how do you grow streaming if everything goes to the legacy platforms? I had to make that move. Okay, this ties into what we just read. The money, the money, the money. The directors, the actors, Hollywood, they all like those back end bonuses that come with the theatrical releases. Okay, so there's a conflict of interest here when you have those same people deciding where this content ultimately lands. Of course, and Chapek is right, of course, they're always going to decide for it to land on the platform that's going to make them the most money. So Chapek made an executive decision where basically there's going to be a third party, which is Kareem Daniel, who heads this new division of distribution, and he's going to decide where the content gets distributed. Now, number one, this shouldn't even be up to creatives anyway. Distribution and where content lands, whether on streaming or in theaters or on whatever, on TV, is not even a creative decision. That's a marketing business decision in the first place. It's a business decision in the first place. They shouldn't have any creatives shouldn't be making that decision at all. It has nothing to do with them. Their job is to create the films, to create the content, to create the series and TV shows and what have you. And it's up to business people to market those films and to figure out where to best place them on which platform. It's a common sense. It's absolute common sense. But this is the rationale behind why Chapek decided to take that power away from the creatives and give it to the third party, Kareem Daniel and his division, because it was a conflict of interest. When the talent and the creatives are making more money on a certain legacy platform, they're always going to gravitate towards that legacy platform. And it's not about the company at large. It's about, well, I make more money if it goes to theaters, so that's where it's going to go. Okay, now I do think that's going to change. From what I understand, Chapek and Disney has sort of kind of reconfigured, kind of changed these contracts for talent and what have you to kind of acknowledge and address the new world we live in with streaming and day and date and what have you. So that's good. So the talent and all directors and what have you, they might make more money now with streaming when they weren't before. I don't know. This is my speculation because Disney has been reworking these contracts. But look, you guys, this with all the hyperbole you heard for months and months and months about how Chapek is killing creativity because of the Kareem Daniel move, because of Disney's reorganization, was all bullshit. Okay, it had nothing to do with killing creativity, because the films and the shows were already in the can, ready to be distributed when Kareem Daniel gets it. It doesn't even matter. It had nothing to do with creatives. This is all about their money, their paychecks, what platform they get a bigger paycheck out of. And the talent gets more money when it goes into theaters. That's what this was all about. So anyway, this was a fascinating article. I'm going to link it down below in the description. I want you guys to check out the article because this is just tip of the iceberg. I might even make another video on this because there's just so much to dive into. You really learn about Bob Chapek, the man. A lot of stuff in here that I didn't know before, a lot. And I follow this stuff very closely, but check it out down below. I want to thank you all so much for watching. What do you think about all this stuff that we discussed today in regards to Disney's reorganization, talent, pay? Alan Horn, Disney, high on the Disney food chain, admits that Bob Chapek was hand-selected, hand-picked by Bob Iger. What are your thoughts on that? I would love to hear from you. Thank you all so much for watching. And as always, have a nerdy day.